What's up, guys? How's it going? I just got back from my morning walk. I bumped into this guy in the elevator. Whenever I move to a new building, I make sure to live on the top floor. It's not like a weird ego thing. So it's because when I was young, I realized, you know, whenever it was like Christmas was always my favorite because there would be presents, right? And I would run down the stairs. You know, I would fly down the stairs on Christmas morning to get my presents, right? And I realized I'm kind of like Pavloved into just feeling joy and excitement whenever I run downstairs. So I realized if I just, you know, make sure I live on top of stairs, a really good way to make me excited for the day is to just like, you know, just fly down the stairs, just run and just kind of like relive my past life as a child. And it fills me with the same joy and exuberance that I once had. And if there was ever a day where I needed to stimulate artificial joy, it would be today because there's no champion reveals. But that's a story for another time. That's fine. Anyway, I was on my way up to the elevator because, let's be honest, I'm far too lazy to have climbed the stairs back up. That was never gonna happen. But in the elevator, I bumped into this guy, and I'll never know this guy's name, but I've seen him about 100 times. I'm not exaggerating. Because he's always walking around the outside of the building. I think he's taking like smoke breaks. I mean, I don't smoke, but I just like, I go on walks constantly. And I swear to God, he's always out there. And he and I always, we make eye contact. We make eye contact, you know? Like he recognizes me and I recognize him. He's like a kind of older Indian guy. He's probably like in his late 30s or something. And you know, he gives me a little nod and I give him a little nod and we both go on our way. But I ran into him in the elevator today and I made contact. I talked to him for the first time ever. I said, "Hey man, what's up?" And I sort of gave a little smile and, you know, I pulled it off well. You could like, he probably thought I was like, you know, a fellow human being, you know, I convinced him of that, I think fairly well. You know, I was like, "Hey man, what's up?" And I gave him like a little slight nodding action, a little eyebrow action. I was like, "Hey man, what's up?" And he said, "Hey." And then the elevator got to my floor and that was our interchange. But no, I'm making progress. That was no, that was it. That was actually all I have. But the thing is, I'm getting better, guys. Like one of these days, I think I'll probably be able to convince my entire building that I'm a human. Like social skills, you guys have no idea, dude. I have raging social skills. You guys might never know the depth to my social skills. Definitely. All right, guys. What are we revealing today or something? Tristana? Yeah, Tristana today for sure. Oh my God, it is Tristana. Holy shit.
Tristana, going in. I have social anxiety.
Wait, hang on. God damn it. Tristana's out. A 3-mana 1/3 Yordle, pure Bandle. She's not in another region. She has quick attack, which is my favorite keyword on a 1/3. I have +1 attack for each multi-region ally you've summoned this game. Oh my. When you summon a multi-region ally, grant it +1/+0. And she levels up when you've summoned 4+ multi-region allies. That's not an I've seen. So she's actually pretty easy to level. She can level basically proactively by like turn 5 or something. You can slap her like post level on turn 5.
Loaded and ready to rocket. Let's get them, squad.
And unlike Bandle Tree, they don't have to be different regions every time. It just has to be multi-region cards.
Let's go! Grab my hat! Comb my...
Create in hand one of 3 randomly selected cards. That's the manifest. So this one is a 3-mana 2/2 epic. Your multi-region units cost 1 less. When you play, it manifests a multi-region follower. That is pretty good. That is not bad. Some serious vibes of the Allegiance Targon Invoke card, Mountain Scryer. Basically very, very similar thing where passively it costs 1 less. It gives you a random discover when you play it. And that's like a really, really strong combination.
My mustache! Your esteemed mayor has arrived. Has the battle started?
I'm sure your speech will cheer us on regardless.
Alright. Gruff Grenadier.
Number 1.
Gunners get 'em, jobs done.
Oh my god.
Holding
That's fucking
position.
cute. Group shot. I'll read the small cards afterwards. I don't like
Look at
pausing
'em,
the video.
shaking in their boots.
Grow an ally 2/3/3. So it's kind of like a suit up. I think that was a 1 mana spell, right? Is that right?
Vim, vigor, victory.
Uh-oh.
I got your 6 shortcakes.
Love it, Big
All right.
Mama. Let's bring this home. Blasting off! Bye-bye, bad guys!
All right, and when Tristana levels up, she of course gains the +1/+1. When you summon a multi-region ally, grant it +1 and impact. So basically the entire board's gonna get impact very, very quickly. And that can actually be pretty scary to close the games. I mean, she's got quick attack, which is really, really, really important. Like, we're kind of in a meta right now where we're seeing like quick attack is one of the strongest keywords in the game.
Winners don't duck.
So mostly she's just kind of like a low cost card. Yeah, and these are all getting impacts too. So she'll kind of like start closing out the games with that. This is Bandle Gunners, 8 mana, Yordles 7/7. When I'm summoned, if you've summoned units from 4+ regions this game, grant me impact 4 times. So this will of course be an impact 4 with spell shield. That's just meant to start closing out the game.
Bandle Gunners, this is why we fight.
All right. We got Might. So this is a really, really interesting deck build that we're gonna have with Tristana, and I believe it's on summon, right? So there's some tokens that have like a multi-region that will trigger her twice, basically, right? Because it's each multi-region ally you've summoned to this game, and there are some tokens like the the base of whatever and the tenor of something. That like have like a summon attached that will basically count as 2 procs for her, which I guess is kind of why those cards exist. Then we've got Group Shot, which we didn't see earlier. Deal 1, so it's 1 mana, deal 1 to an enemy. If you have 4+ allies, deal 2 instead. Wow. So it's basically it's kind of like an improved Noxian Blade thingy. Except if you have 4 allies, it's a 1 mana Mystic Shot. That is really not bad. Usually though, in situations where you have 4 allies, those are situations where you'd really want this to be able to target face, right? Like if you're thinking about control decks, they often won't have like 4 allies, and they'll often just kind of want to be like, if you think of like the situations where you have 4 allies, you're thinking of stuff like discard aggro, where you would want this to be able to actually be a Mystic Shot instead of just hitting a unit, because this can't hit Nexus, right? So overall, I'm not sure what deck this would fit in, but it's not bad. I think that Blade's Edge, the Noxian 1 mana 1/1 Blade, is actually kind of underrated, and this is an improvement to this in a lot of ways. Then we've got the Gruff Grenadier, 4 mana 4/3. This is their Allegiance card. Yo, we got Bandle's Allegiance card finally, which is summon another Yordle follower that costs 3 or less. And finally we have something that interacts with the Yordle keyword. So it'll summon it from just randomly from any of the Yordles in the entire game that cost 3 or less. Oh god. Well, hopefully that summons Petty Officer. Jesus. All right, I've got to close the window. But then we've got PurpleBerry Shake. PurpleBerry Shake is a 1 mana burst that grows an ally to 3/3 this round. For 1 mana, it's sort of like an alt suit up. This is actually a little bit spooky for a 1 mana card, because I mean, when you're combining it with some of what Bandle does, which is like the Lulu kind of package, if you have like stuff like Flame Chompers or stuff like Fleet Feather Tracker, this is actually pretty good. It's like a self mini T. Yeah, it's kind of like a self mini T, I guess. But yeah, there's a lot of decks that you can build around a card like PurpleBerry Shake for sure. It's kind of like a better picks as well. And you can use it, like the fact that its burst speed is kind of nuts. So I think PurpleBerry Shake is actually like really, really low key. If you're using it in a deck with a lot of cheap things, this card's kind of broken. Like when you look at, just imagine if you have a Teemo, right? You have a Teemo and it's like a 1 mana 1/1. PurpleBerry Shake is literally a 1 mana Sharp Sight if you use it on a Teemo. Guys, that's kind of crazy. Like PurpleBerry Shake is nuts. This card is absolutely insane. This is kind of in a way, this is almost like the Bandle combat trick that people were talking about, right? Like every region has like a powerful spell that you like, troll chance or sharp sight or twin disciplines. This is kind of like Bandle's version of that, right? Where the fact that it has the ability to be a 1-mana sharp sight, you need a deck that it has a high deck building cost. You're going to want to use it when there's a lot of things, like for example, when there's a lot of tiny units or small challenger buffable units, stuff like flame chompers. But PurpleBerry Shake is really good. You can't use it on every deck. It's not a staple of every deck, but in decks like that, it's nasty. All right. And then we've got the Bandle Gunners, which we went over before. So that's the video reveals. Let's check out if there's a couple of additional ones on Mobalytics. Like there always are. Okay, we got Tristana's Buster Shot. So this is her champ spell. It's cost 2 less if you have a Tristana or if you've summoned or cast cards from 4 regions this game. And it's simply slow, deal 3 to a unit. So basically, if you have a Tristana on board, if it's Tristana's champ spell, it's just a 2-mana slow, deal 3 to a unit. Interesting. That's really not bad at the point in the game where you're going to be playing her out. That's pretty mana effective. I don't know if you're going to be main decking this card, but as a champ spell, it's really solid. It's kind of like a much better aftershock. Yeah, like when you can actually hit this discount, it's like a pretty significantly better aftershock. Although, of course, I mean, for some decks, you want to be able to go face, and this can't. Bandle Painter, a 3-mana 2/3 augment. Discard a card when played to create a multi-region follower in hand. So presumably, this will just give you a random multi-region follower out of all of them in the entire game. I mean, it has the discard keyword, so I mean, you can use it in some kind of like discard synergy decks. Yeah, some combos like Jinx or some combos with like Flame Chompers more likely. I don't know if this one is going to end up being good, but it definitely, like, there's a lot that links Flame Chompers or like discard style synergy with Bandle, and this card could maybe think about hitting a deck like that. All right, then we've got Double Tap. Wait, Double Tap. What's that other card called? An ally strikes an enemy. If the ally is multi-region, it strikes the enemy again. All right, that's really interesting. It's sort of like an alternate. Why am I blanking on this? The Demacia one, the one everyone uses. Concerted Strike. Thank you. It's sort of like an alternate Concerted Strike. Concerted Strike has a bit more of a deck building cost than it seems, because it requires you to have like 2 units that are both like bulky and worth protecting. This one doesn't have as much, but it's quite a bit weaker in terms of its ceiling. It costs 6, and you want to use it on a specific kind of card, like a multi-region card for a double strike. For the most part, I think this card's pretty good. Like, people are going to compare this to Concerted Strike, and I mean, obviously this card isn't as good as Concerted Strike, but Concerted Strike is a really good card that's limited to Demacia. There will be probably a lot of situations. I don't think it's going to be like a meta staple. It's not going to be as strong as Concerted Strike, but there's a lot of situations where you're probably going to want to think about using this. The only question is, like, what kind of deck would you have like the board presence to make this worth it? But I think there will actually be. Maybe not right away, but eventually. This card's not like trash. Like, it's super easy, guys, to compare this to Concerted Strike and be like, well, this card is Concerted Strike, therefore it's bad. Guys, Concerted Strike is like one of the strongest cards in the game. It's really good. Yeah, this card is not as good as Concerted Strike, but I don't think it's bad. At worst, it's like a little bit fringe. All right. Then we've got Yordle in Arms. 5-mana slow. Give allies +2/+2 this round. If you've summoned or cast cards from 4+ regions, give allies +4/+4 this round instead. So this is sort of like for Demacia, where it's basically just like give allies X this round. It's quite a bit better than for Demacia, and to the point where I could see it being a little bit scary. Like, for Demacia is kind of a Q card. If you have a really wide board, like let's say you're playing, because all the multi-region cards are really cheap and low to the ground, or at least a lot of them are trying to be. So let's say you're playing a deck sort of like Discard Aggro, which is that you're like swarming, and you play this on like turn 5 or 6 or something like that, and your opponent doesn't have a wide board. That is pretty crazy, especially when you combine it with the elusive keyword, right? Like, if you can actually figure out a way to fit this into an elusive deck, this card can be completely insane. And I think that's kind of where this card will be a lot better than for Demacia. So overall, I think probably it's going to be a little too weak without the elusive keyword, even though it is better than for Demacia. But once you combine it with elusive, this card gets nuts fast. for sure. I apologize to everyone in advance. Faint, I agree. Faint, you're like the only one who gets me, man. No, I also agree. I also apologize to everyone in advance for the elusive meta. Like, there's so much elusive support here. It's crazy. All right, and that concludes like all the reveals that we've got today. So overall, honestly, these cards are kind of weird. So they've released this new sub archetype of wanting to play a bunch of multi-region allies, and to be able to evaluate these properly, we are gonna have to kind of like think back at like how many multi-region allies we have access to that are gonna be kind of cheap enough. They really need to be cheap cards to summon these triggers, or ones that summon multiple ones. Now we know that, for example, some of the tokens like Hungry Owlcat were multi-region, and it was kind of weird because of course you can't run this in an Ionia deck because it's not even a real card, it's a token, but it does count as a multi-region card for this, which is pretty cool, right? Stuff like Loping Telescope will count as a multi-region card. So there will be a lot of ways to trigger Tristana. I mean, overall, Tristana has a pretty nice upside for her low deck building cost. Like, she's really non-committal for a 3-mana card. Especially because, so think about it like this, guys. We were talking about how Caitlyn was good because she's a 3-mana 3/3 quick attack. The question is, like, how can you make it so that Tristana can be a 3-mana 3/3 quick attack on turn 3? Is there a single card that can curve into her that gives her 2 of those stat buffs? Because she doesn't count herself, obviously, because she's not multi-region, right? Is there a 2-mana card that can trigger it twice off of a summon ability or something like that? I mean, you won't have anything on turn 1, right? You'll have to play Protoporo on turn 1 and then play like Loping Telescope or something else on turn 2. House Spider? Guys, House Spider is 0 multi-region cards. House Spider is 2 regions. It's not multi-regions, guys. I swear to God. So the thing about Tristana, God damn it, guys. The thing about Tristana that makes her a lot stronger than she looks. Now, I've seen a lot of people were like, well, Tristana is kind of underwhelming. She doesn't do anything flashier in the game. The thing about Tristana is, and I don't know exactly how good she'll be, but a 3-mana 3/3 quick attack is really good. Like, already it's nuts. As soon as you give that an upside, and this will take a little bit of a deck building cost. You'll have to play like Teemo on turn 1, and then you'll have to play, you know, like a 2-mana double card on turn 2, and that can be a few things. You know, you can run, for example, I don't know, Loping Telescope, right? Or you can find a way to pull the Hungry Owlcat. Sorry, new card names and all that. But if you have reliable ways of triggering Poppy pretty quickly, she can actually get like really scary really fast. Like, there's Draven vibes, especially with like the fact that not only is she 3-mana 3/3 quick attack, again with a deck building cost, like you do have to be able to build a deck to support her to be able to get her there. But like once she's there, it's just all upsides, right? She's just gonna grow even bigger with her quick attack for free, and her level up will actually start closing out the game. Did I say Poppy? I meant Tristana. Sorry. Guys, they're both like purple short girls. It's like it's a really easy mistake to make, okay? Come on. Swim racist. But yeah, I think Tristana is actually low-key. I think she's the fact that she has a low deck building cost is really important. It just comes down to a deck that does want to use that kind of like low and light strategy. Sorry, she has a lower deck building cost than some, because she just kind of wants you to run certain kinds of value units, but it's just like a value deck that doesn't really have to play for any sort of very specific game plan is what I mean. But yeah, overall, these cards look great. Buster Shot, I don't think you're main decking this, but it's going to be good to have off of Tristana herself. Bandle City Mayor seems like kind of almost the core card for a strategy like this, potentially. I think this card is pretty spooky. If you're able to run this deck, if you're able to run like all the multi-region cards, like this card will help out so much. It'll be kind of crazy. Battle Painter, I personally don't see. I think there's a lot of reasons to want to discard cards in Bandle for the adjacency to Flame Chompers, etc. But I think there's probably better ways of doing that than a 3-mana 2/3 with Augment. Gruff Grenadier, we finally have our Allegiance card. I mean, this one's good if you can actually like do the Bandle City Allegiance. And the thing is, Bandle City is probably pretty easy to make Allegiance, right? Because, I mean, is this basically just Tristana support? Because when you're running all these multi-region followers, you're probably not going to want to run that many cards of another region, right? When you think about it, because all the multi-region cards are also Bandle cards. So in all likelihood, you're kind of incentivized to want to run the Gruff Grenadier with the Tristana. They're kind of like the same package, because even though, you know, Tristana isn't herself a mono card, when you think about like how her multi-region thing will work, it does want you to be in a lot of Bandle cards. In addition to that, Gruff Grenadier will summon a random Yordle, and these have a high likelihood, not every time, but a pretty high likelihood of being something with a multi-region, right? And that means that it might be, you know, an extra trigger for Tristana as well. So yeah, Tristana looks like she'll probably be best in this kind of archetype. Bandle Gunners seems a little bit slow at 8 mana. I don't really see games going that late for an impact 4. But double tap, it's all right. It's all right. I don't think the card is like bad, but I don't know where I would run it right now, right? Like, I don't know if it has a home. This is the kind of thing that you might need a specific kind of archetype for if you're looking for something to like gain value off of triggering strikes or something like that. And then we've got Yordles and Arms, which is going to be just absolutely disgusting in an elusives deck. There's a chance this card is just going to be not okay. Like, this card is really dumb. Like, this is like so imagine like when you compare it to like Mind Meld, when you're looking at it compared to Mind Meld, it is a really, if you're just jamming elusives, if you actually have enough elusives, Yordles and Arms gets really stupid really fast. It's like a 5 mana Mind Meld that doesn't have a deck building cost. Well, I guess it's casting cards from multiple regions, but that's much less of a deck building cost than Mind Meld, I think. So this one I do like. It's purely an elusive card, but Bandle is perfectly situated as a region to have just like a really powerful elusive component, especially when you combine it with the last card here, PurpleBerry Shake, which is so good in an elusives deck. It's ridiculous. The whole point of elusives is going wide and low to the ground. And cards like PurpleBerry Shake, like I said, when you use this on a Teemo, it's a 1 mana sharp sight. Like that's really dumb, guys. That's so stupid. And it's not like Teemo is going to be the only thing in that deck. You're going to have a lot of like, you know, 2/1 elusive stat lines or other 1/1s where it's like they go into Mystic Shot, but then you just PurpleBerry Shake, keep it alive forever, and you know it's just got 3 health. Like that's super good. Swim is cooming over the Shake, dude. I love PurpleBerry Shake. This card is nuts. And then finally we've got Group Shot, which I think a lot of people are kind of overrating. Like it could be good. Like I said, I think that, you know, Blade's Edge is a bit of an underrated card. This is a niche card, don't get me wrong. When I say underrated, I mean there's certain metas where, you know, people could be running this for like a week or 2 at a time to counter a certain thing in a certain meta. And there's a lot of spells that are like that people should be slotting in for like small sub metas for short periods of time, but like they can make sense here and there. And Group Shot is basically, I see it as a slightly improved Blade's Edge. I mean, it can't even go face, so it's kind of more like an alt Blade's Edge. But yeah, the thing about Group Shot is the decks that want to deal 2 damage to an enemy unit aren't the same decks that want to be able to have 4+ allies on the board, right? It's the aggro decks that want 4 allies on the board, and it's the kind of like controlier decks that want to be dealing 2 damage to units. So it's sort of a confused card. I don't think it's bad by any means, but it's a lot more limited in use than it seems. Like a lot more, I think. So yeah, that's kind of my initial impressions of these cards. Overall, the thing I'm looking forward to the most in this expansion is literally, you guys know how every expansion, you know, I make a bunch of new decks. It's on the meta tier list and all the new decks for the new expansion, and I'll do a YouTube video. So the thing I'm looking forward to this time is just making like 6 or 7 elusive decks, and yeah, just handing them out on the first couple of days of the expansion. That's gonna be a lot of fun. All right, guys, see you tomorrow for the next champ reveal.